In this video, we're looking at problem 4 of your Chapter 9 quiz, which is the one that I think gave you guys the most difficulties. And in this problem, we're asked to evaluate 4 projects cumulatively and advise which ones to do. One thing that you should see is that I've already put these in order of their return. So as we go to project A, B, and C, and D, the return gets gradually lower. So you've got the highest return to the lowest return order already, so that makes it a little bit easier. You could also scroll down and look at the chart or the graph to sort of get an overall picture of what's going on and see the blue here is the marginal cost of a capital as your capital budget site grows as you add projects and need more capital, and then you can see the return from each of the projects. So it's very easy to see that you're going to want to do project A, B, and C because the return is higher than the cost, even at the end here, right there. You're not going to do project D because the return is way lower than the cost at that point, keeping in mind that these projects are cumulative. So when this bottom formula right here just simply sums up your project so you can see the cumulative capital investment as you add these projects, and you add them in the order of the projects as the return gets lower, right? So you always want to do your projects with the highest returns first. Okay, so let's look at what we need to actually do for the problem. The first thing is we need to calculate the first and second debt breakpoint and the equity breakpoint. So we need to know the limit. So if we read through the problem, the limits here for the debt is that anything under 1 million is going to be at 11% before taxes, and anything between 1 million and 2 million is going to be 13% before taxes, and then over 2 million is 15%. So the two limits for your debt are 1 million and 2 million, and that's what we're going to use to calculate our first and second debt breakpoint. So we just simply come here, and we use this formula right here because it gives us our percentages of debt, and it gives us our percentages. It doesn't give a dollar amount, so we want to use these bottom two right here. So our percentage of debt was 40%. The first limit was 1 million, so I put that in right here, and that's going to give us our first debt breakpoint of 2,500,000. Our second debt breakpoint, we simply put in our second limit, which is 2 million, and that's going to give us our second debt breakpoint of 5 million, and you can see that on the chart over here. And well, let me just jump over. And then our equity breakpoint is determined by the overall percentage of our capital that is equity, 50%, and the dollar amount limit we get from the problem, which is the firm's net income. This is also retained earnings, and this is also internal equity. So this is, once we go over this, we're going to have to issue new stock, which is going to be more expensive. So that's going to be our limit for our equity breakpoint. So we put that right there, and we get our equity breakpoint of 5,500,000. And simply these numbers right here are simply the percentage of that would be debt here and here. So this is 50% of the total, and this is 40% right here and here. Okay. Now that also shows on the chart right here. We see our breakpoints here, here, and here. Okay. So we've got those. Now we need to calculate the marginal cost of the capital as we add these projects. Now the marginal cost for capital is a weighted average cost of capital and whatever the costs are at that level. So the first level, we can see project A requires 900,000. So that first level is going to be below both the limits. The first limit for which was 1 million here. I'll put that back in there. Did I do that right? 1 million, so one more zero, right? So the first limit for debt was 1 million, and the limit for common stock was 2 million. So, or 2,750,000. So we're below that with project A. So we want to use our least expensive capital as it is defined in a problem. So the lowest that we're going to pay for debt is 11%, and the lowest we're going to pay for equity, for common equity, is if I can find it in here. Let's see. Common equity 13%, and preferred stock is 12. So 13 and 12 is going to be common equity is 13. Preferred stock is 12. We just need to figure out what the after-tax cost of debt is. So we use the 13% before. Actually, we use 11%. Yeah, it's hard to read all this. So many numbers. Okay, so let's jump back up here, and we use 11%. So we get an after-tax cost of debt. We use this top formula up here of 6.6%, and we put all those in right down here, because this is the one where we just have percentages of each of our different financing. So we have 40% debt, 50% common stock, and 10% preferred, and we put our cost in up here. The 6.6% comes from up here, using a marginal tax rate of 40%, and that's going to give us our weighted average cost of capital for that $900,000 project, and so that's going to be our marginal cost of capital for project A, 10.34. Okay, now we need to figure out what it's going to be for project A and B, and so if we go, and I'm going to go back over here. So A and B together are going to cost $3 million. So that's going to be over our that's going to require us to go over what? So if we look at the limit here, that's going to require us to go over our first debt breakpoint of $2,500,000. So we're going to be borrowing more money at a higher rate. But we're not over. See, this $3 million right here is not over our equity breakpoint, so that's not going to change at all. So the only thing that's going to change is we're going to use a higher percentage for our debt between 1 million and 2 million. Because see, if we put in a 2 million, let me just show you again. That's way up here, so we're not there yet. So we're going to use the one between 1 and 2, which is, let me go to the problem, which is, let's see 13% between 1 and 2. So we jump back over here, jump back up here, and put in 13% right there is all we have to do, and that's going to give us our after-tax cost of 7.8, and we simply put that right here, 7.8, and that gives us our next breakpoint of 10.82 for project A and B, which cost $3 million, and that is going to go right there, 10.82. Now we want A, B, and C. Okay, whoops, and the cost there is going to be 5.1 million. So we're still below we haven't got to our equity breakpoint yet. So we're still just looking at our debt, and since this is going to take us over our second debt breakpoint, over 2 million, we've got to use that higher cost of debt, which in the problem was 15%, I believe, 15% right here. Yep, over 2 million. So we just simply come back here and we just jump up here and put 15% up here and get our after-tax cost, which is 9%. And then we come back down here and put 9 in here, and that's going to give us our breakpoint for projects A, B, and C. And we just put that right here, 11.3, right? Yep. Now, the third one, projects A, B, C, and D, if we look at that, that is going to be, it's over here, right? Yeah, that's going to be 6 million total. So that's going to put us over our equity breakpoint. So we're going to have to use the more expensive, we're going to have to issue new stock. So now it gets a little bit complicated. You've got to look at what that's going to cost in the problem. If I can find it. So we've got a common stock price of $44.23, a dividend per share of $4.20. The growth rate is 4% and a 5% flotation cost. So we use our formula for new common stock right here, and I need to put in some. I think it was 43. I got 43 something. I think it was 43.23, but I'll check on that. Let's see. 44 or 23. The share is 420. So the share right here is 420, right? And this is 44.23. And the expected growth rate, I'm going to make sure, the growth rate is 4% and the flotation cost is 5%. So we put that in right there. And we get a cost of new common stock equity of 14%. So we put that right here. 14, right? And that's going to give us our weighted average cost of capital for over the limit of actually it's over here. Over this limit right here. So we're over this limit because 6 million total is over the equity at breakpoint. So that's why we're having to issue new stock at a cost of 14% once we figured it out right here in this formula right here, and that gives us the weighted average cost at that point, or the marginal cost of capital at that point. So in the chart you would put the average cost of capital right up here. This number right here would be whatever that was, 11.8, right? 11.8, which is what we got, I think, right there. Yeah, 11.8. So there you go. It's not as hard as it looks. Now we've done everything, and now you've actually proved by looking at the chart, and you've also proved by looking at the marginal cost at each level. And you can see that the marginal cost for A, B, and C, if we go back, was 11.3. The return for project C is 11.4. So without looking at the chart, you can see that the returns are higher than the cost. 10.34, 10.82, 11.30. Those costs are lower than the returns here, and here for projects A, B, and C. But for project D, when we add that in, we get a return of only 11% and a cost of where did my cost go? And a cost of 11.8. So that's why we do project A, B, and C, and we don't do D. And that is problem number 4 for your homework, and I hope that helped you, and I hope you understand this whole idea of marginal cost of capital's breakpoints and how we determine accumulatively which projects to do and which projects we should not do. Okay.